Demonstrating, but government didn't take no notice of it.
If we don't get involved in the whole voting system, do you think that's working against us in a way? If we say we are a minority and we just sit on our backs without doing anything, then don't we stay a minority?
You know, when you're being labelled something and you feel like you're never going to win, so you just kind of have a defeatist attitude, and I think that's what we've adopted, well, some of us that don't vote, a defeatist attitude where you're thinking, well, my vote won't matter.
By us not voting, do you agree that you're essentially giving your power to the BNP and BNP is capitalising on that and coming on board?
Yes, I do.
I suppose, yeah, you do have a point there, yeah.
I don't think directly, I think indirectly you leave the door open.
As long as BNP don't come involved, we're all here to help, innit?
Okay, what if the BNP came into power?
I don't think that would happen.
Why not?
I just don't see it happening.
If I don't vote, then that's a lost vote that could be going against the BNP.
If I don't vote to one of the major parties, then obviously BNP have more chance.
If you look at the word democracy and look at its meaning, democracy meaning legislation without God, we don't believe that.
Democratically, like we're supposed to live according to Islamic rules.
Yeah.
So that it don't really make a difference, does it?
As Muslims, we need to, we follow Allah's laws. These political parties are not following that. In fact, it's on the contrary.
You know, Muslims shouldn't be involved in any sort of politics because you're still encouraging, you know, what's happening in the media and across the world.
What would you say to our community people that say, well, voting doesn't make any difference, I'm not going to vote, it's haram to vote?
I think they're just the beginners. They hot-headed, they don't see things as a whole.
Because we're in this country, we should, as Muslims, adhere to the rules and regulations of this country, and because we're living as part of this society, to make it more cohesive, we then need to make a stand, and we do need to become involved with the voting system.
You can make a difference when there are people like me think like they don't care, but their votes all add up, innit?
If you sacrifice the right to vote or don't use it, then you have no grounds for complaint and you haven't had your say, you haven't influenced it one way or another.
Coming up in part 2. I've taken it upon myself to try and demonstrate to the Muslims within this area the impact that they had when the BNP came into power.
Get me a sheikh to prove to me that democracy is haram and voting is haram in an election where we have a voice.
If any voice amongst the Ummah is loud, it is that of Asghar Bukhari and the Impact team. They're known for championing pro-democracy amongst the Muslims. I heard they were in town and I decided to go along to find out more.
Can I leave that to you? Yeah? Voter registration drive, man. Voter registration drive. The masjid is organising a voter registration drive in the mosque. Voter registration in the mosque. Voter registration in the mosque today. I'll just give you that. It's a voter registration drive in the mosque today. Voter registration drive today. The mosque is organising a voter registration drive.
You've been sitting here convincing people and you're getting the same arguments. Why is it the imams aren't convincing them otherwise?
I wish, I wish someone was actually asking that question. Yeah. The problem is no one's asking that question at all. Yeah. They still want to do the same old talk that they've been doing for 50 years. Yeah. I mean, this mosque is forward thinking. That's why, they got a voter registration drive today. Yeah. But most mosques in the country, 99.9%, simply refuse. We're not anti any party. What we say is, in that particular area, if that MP has worked against the interests of the Muslims or the rights of the Muslims in this country or anywhere in the world, right? And is not ethical, then Muslims should not be voting for them.
Well, what about the people who don't vote at all? What are you doing to get the people who are just completely indifferent to the entire political process disenfranchised?
Muslims fall into two categories. The older generation always vote Labour.
Yeah.
I mean, Labour could do anything to them and they would still come back and they'll vote Labour. Younger generation, as you just said, they just don't vote at all. Yeah. You ask most younger people if they voted, no, not interested. Yeah. Younger generation think that voting makes no difference, and it's not just voting, but all political actions, joining political parties, etc. Then we will have a new generation who are the most demonised generation in Britain today, who have absolutely no power and no stake and feel totally powerless in Britain. So we try to do too much with a community that knows nothing. So what we said is, we're never going to be able to strategically engage with any community while our own community is so apathetic, so ignorant of any of the issues or what to do about them. Now, if we start to teach young Muslims that they can make a difference and they can get politically active. In 5 years' time, those Muslims will number in their hundreds or their thousands, and they will start to engage with all communities within Britain for ethical reasons.
So you've basically got yourself a starting point. You're taking the gag off the Muslims first. And
Absolutely.
There is a saying, one man can't make a difference. What do you have to say to that?
In the history of this world, it's always started with one man. There's going to be a voter registration drive in the masjid today, so if you haven't registered, make sure you vote, yeah? Then what's the point of going to Jummah when you see what's happening in Gaza right now and your MP in this area is backing the Israelis? So you can do it. Look, it's the right thing to do. You're going to pray to Allah, right? And yet the Ummah, the people who are suffering, dying around the world, it's all it takes for you is 10 minutes. You're telling me that is not worth it? So, you know, it's a big thing. Yeah? Thanks, bro. Thanks so much.
Bro, you know what?
And this brother obviously doesn't believe in voting, so we might have a chat with you afterwards, or your team, yeah? Assalamu Make sure you vote.
This time I will follow you. Yeah. You are my leader, right? You lead and I'll follow you.
Thanks, Uncle. Thank you. I was wrong about the older generation never changing. I want that on record. Make sure you put money in the masjid, get political. Don't listen to those who say it's haram, it's fard. It's obligatory. Make sure you vote. You're defending the Ummah.
Will he accept the ruling of kufr? No,
yes, well, hold on.
Don't land in the land.
Yeah, don't talk about did he accept the ruling of the kufr. He was never offered that rule.
Of course he was.
What was he offered? What was he offered? No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. They say that the Prophet was offered a deal in Mecca, i.e. democracy. You rule for 1 year and we rule for 1 year, and the Prophet rejected it. That's their argument, right? I'll tell you the real deal. The real deal, the Prophet was asked, we worship your God for 1 year and you worship our God for 1 year. Now, is the Prophet of God going to go, yeah, all right then? Of course he's not. He's the Prophet of God. He's never going to accept that deal. So the deal, I haven't finished that deal. So the fact of the matter is, he was never offered the deal to say, you can worship whoever you want and just rule us for 1 year. He was never offered that deal. Check the hadith. Check the hadith yourself.
What did he establish in Medina? Islam. Yeah?
So go and establish it in Pakistan. If you were an MP, would you vote for Iraq war? If you were an MP.
No, I wouldn't.
Exactly. So how can you say that?
Muslims, when they get into that position, they do a U-turn.
And
and we know they did. All four of them
I agree. But
all four of them vote for anti-terror legislation.
I agree.
All four of them vote for Iraq. They support their war in Afghanistan.
They're corrupt.
We need to engage in our own politics. We need to rely on ourselves.
This is our politics.
This is not our politics. You're saying go to the West.
The problem with the second generation and you lot, we had a lot of expectation from you. I'll give you a small example. That your contribution seems to be with the elder generation who was illiterate in their own language and another language. Hardworking, honest, they had integrity, self-sufficiency, all this institution establishment for you to argue. That's their contribution. If we didn't have this place here, we wouldn't be gathering 2,000 people.
Absolutely.
Or 3,000 people. You got to engage yourself by only shouting on proliferation, standing up there, kill that one, kill this one, do this one, jihad this one. You know, you got to prepare yourself for certain things. You can do jihad by pressing of a button. If you have the ability, you don't have to shout. You got all young people. You're our future. Whether you're left, right, middle, or whatever it is, you're our future.
It seems that out on the street, the biggest excuse that the Muslims have for not voting is the doubt around the permissibility. Is voting halal or is voting haram? I decided to ask the experts to find out more.
I, Anthony Small Abdul Haq, will say it is haram, it is kufr and it is shirk. And obviously me saying this is not worth anything unless I back it up with the divine text. There's nothing worthy to worship, followed or obeyed except for Allah. Tawhid is anything what takes or claims to hold the attributes of Allah, whether it be the attributes of worship, the attributes of obedience, the attributes to resurrect, to create.
Democracy is kufr. Participating in democracy is kufr. Voting is kufr. You cannot say this statement. I haven't heard, to be honest with you, I haven't heard any scholar, well-known scholar, who has been accepted as a scholar by the body of scholars in the Muslim world, who said that voting